Do Mondays make you want to eat an entire tray of lasagna? Do dogs in swim trunks and sunglasses make you want to pop open an ice-cold beer? Are you a cat person or a dog person? If the final scene of Homeward Bound still makes you sob uncontrollably, you might be a Xennial, and we are too. Hi, I'm Katie, and I'm a dog person.
And I'm Danny, and I am a cat person.
And on today's episode, we are going toe-to-toe, fact-to-fact with each other on the most famous, well, our favorite famous dogs and cats, or cats and dogs, if you will, of the 90s.
Yes, I'm super pumped about this episode because, well, there's a lot of reasons why. You'll see. I love cats. Katie loves dogs. And there are so many epic cats and dogs from our Xennial. I mean, she said 90s, but some of mine are 80s as well.
You know what? Mine are too. So
Yeah.
I should have said 90s-ish.
Yeah,
90s-ish.
80s and 90s. That's
Yeah.
what we do. It's a Xennial time period. How's that?
Yeah, one of mine almost goes into the 2000s.
Okay.
It's close. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting. I'm excited to hear about this. I'm excited to talk about it. But before we move on to this episode, we just want to remind all you listeners that if you have suggestions for episodes, please fill out our Google form that we have for that. It is in our link tree. It is in our little bio on Instagram. So please fill that out. We've already gotten a bunch, right, Katie?
Yeah, we really do. I think we've got like months worth of ideas. So keep them coming. They're great.
And if we use any of your ideas and you gave us permission, we will totally give you credit for that episode idea, okay?
For sure.
So thank you to everybody who sent them in. Please keep sending them. Don't forget, please like us, review us, rate us, all the things. We had a few more of those roll in. So thank you. That helps us so much. So anyways, those just reminders for you listeners. So now 'tis time for the main event of cats versus dogs. We are not really fighting, okay?
No.
I told somebody that we were doing this as our next episode idea. And they were like, cats versus dogs, like the movie. And
What?
I was like, what? And I forgot there was a movie called Cats versus
What?
Dogs. Yeah, but
When?
I don't know. I need to probably look that up, but I think it was in the early 2000s. But I was like, no.
You're too old for that.
Yeah.
No, I mean, so like the true story here, right? So Danny does have a cat.
Yes.
Shout out to Luigi.
Yes.
Love him. And I have two dogs, Matilda and Annie, and we do record at my house. So Danny, doesn't appreciate, and I understand, being jumped on or sniffed or whatever by two dogs at once. So we let them say hello quickly,
Yes.
which for Matilda is a sniff. She's my big lab. And for my little 6-pound Papillon, it's a lot of yappy barking for about 30 seconds, maybe. And then they get a treat and they go in my room till we're done.
Yes. And full honesty, like I recognize that when I go into a house, that is that animal's house, right? So I get it. They're nervous, whatever. They live here. I don't. But I appreciate owners who make sure their dogs do not jump all over me because I try really hard to make sure because my cat's not mean. He's very social.
Wow.
Well, as you know, when you walk into people's houses who have animals you don't like, they automatically come to the person who doesn't like them.
Of course they do.
So I always make sure I'm like, are you okay if he's out here? Are you okay if he he's going to probably jump in your lap. He's going to want to be petted. I always make sure I ask because I appreciate when people ask me. So thanks, Katie, for being a good dog owner.
You're welcome. I wish I could get them to not sniff and not
that's
bark at you,
fine.
but that's
It's their
for
house.
That's for another episode.
Yes, it's their house. So anyways, yes. So Katie's got her dogs. I have my cat. And it's funny that you said Luigi because we're just going to jump right in here. The first cat I have down as one of my faves from the Xennial time period is Garfield.
Yay.
And Garfield is pretty much my cat. I have a thing for orange kitties, okay? Like I love tabby cats. They're the best. If you have ever had an orange tabby cat, you know that they are just unique and awesome. So Garfield, for those of y'all that do not know, Katie, you do know Garfield, right?
I do. He is a cartoon.
Yes.
However, I do find him amusing.
Okay.
I do.
I love, okay,
Yeah,
good.
I like him.
The funny thing, Katie and I texted this morning before we recorded, she's like, funny enough, like all of my dogs are real dogs. And I was like, mine are all fake cats. Like mine are all cartoons and stuff.
Mine are like they're fictional characters in
Yes.
what they portray, but they're actual physical dogs who were trained for the roles, but hers are animated or
Yes.
sketched cats.
Yes. Yes, 100%. So that's just funny that our personality still pulled over into there. But anyway, Garfield is he's this house cat that's kind of lazy. He's cynical. He's got a dry sense of humor. He loves lasagna, like Katie mentioned. He has an owner named John. And he also, Katie, lives with a dog, a dim-witted but sweet dog named Odie, who drives him absolutely crazy, right?
Yes. Bless Odie's heart.
Bless Odie.
him.
I loved reading this comic strip on Sundays. Like, remember the Sunday Funnies? Do they still make those? Like Sunday comic? You know, it was like a separate
idea.
paper that would come out of the Sunday paper. I used to love it. He was one of my favorites. I also had like books of like the collected comic strips. Do you remember those?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had those. Plus, it was one of my favorite Saturday morning cartoons in the late 80s. So, in fact, I loved it so much when I would have like lessons or events or something in the mornings to go to. Like, I took gymnastics for a very short period of time, and it was on Saturday morning. My mom would set the VCR to tape my favorite cartoons.
So we got to pause.
Yes.
And explain what that would entail.
So yeah, do you remember you used to have to program on VCRs? It was such a pain in the butt to program.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to do it because I was a kid, but I remember you would have to fold down the front of it, and there were all these buttons to program the day, the time, the channel. And if you turn the TV on or mess with it at all, it would mess up the recording.
And I'm trying to remember, did you have to have the TV on playing for it to record? Probably, right?
Oh,
like you would put it on the channel?
I think when we first got our VCR, yes, but then I think in later models you didn't.
Okay. Wow. Well, that's not too bad, except for all the buttons.
Yeah, it was like a big thing. So that's like a show of love for your child. If you're willing to like go through all this nonsense to tape her her favorite cartoon on Saturday morning. I could not miss it. I loved it. It was hilarious. And like I said, I have a huge thing for orange tabbies. So there you go. But so now I'm going to give you some history. Okay.
Okay.
So here's some history about Garfield. Garfield is like our age because he was first published in papers in 1978.
Wait a minute. Garfield's a Xennial?
Now he's typically Gen X because I think 79, right?
I thought it was, is it 79 or 78? I thought it was 78 to 83.
Oh, God.
We should probably know. I'm going to look it up while you keep talking.
Okay. So anyway, he's been going strong for 45 years. Cartoonist Jim Davis was his creator. So Jim actually created the character of Garfield based on the dozens of stray cats he saw on his childhood farm. And then he named him after his grandpa, who was James Garfield Davis. So that's cute. But here's something that I read that was super interesting to me. So when Garfield was first drawn, Katie can see the picture, and I'm going to have it in our socials. You see that first picture I have of Garfield? Okay.
Yes.
What do you notice is different?
So Garfield is, he's in a larger body.
True.
He is. He's also, I don't know what else. That's the main thing.
Once I say it, you'll be like, oh. So he's on all fours.
Oh, yeah.
So the original Garfield was on all fours. Okay.
Sorry, Garfield.
Like a cat is.
Yeah.
Right. So originally that's how he was drawn, like a regular cat. Mm-hmm. But Jim was working in the studio of Peanuts creator Charles Schulz.
Wow.
And he showed Charles his drawings, and he's like, something just doesn't feel quite right. Like, I got to get this right. So he took one look at it. Schultz took one peek at Garfield, and he said, oh, his problem is his little cat feet, and then drew him standing up on two larger feet, and boom.
There he is.
There it is.
Garfield
problem solved. There it is. Garfield on 2 feet. So the Garfield we know and love, there he is. He was born. And I just thought that was crazy because, see, like, I was looking at the pictures too. I was like, he looks a little different. But then once you say, oh, 2 feet, duh.
Yeah, and I don't know that his body shape is even that much different. He's just standing up, and his feet are bigger because he's standing up. But okay, so according to Pew Research, Xennials, 77 to 83.
Oh, but I don't think that's the definition we gave.
I don't think so either.
We should know our own definition.
We should know
that
our
we
own
gave
definition.
In our
wow, you guys.
Episode.
I know you put it in one of our notes from the start, so I bet I could find it. But anywho. Like our, remember when you said we should explain it?
We should have receipts.
Like,
we don't even have our own receipts. So.
We do somewhere. We just don't have them in front of us right this second. But either way, Xennial Garfield
yes.
is potentially Xennial.
Yes.
He definitely would have had a digital adulthood if he lived
Correct.
to 20 or older.
Correct. That is so facts. So there was your one fun fact. Here's another interesting thing about the comic strip of Garfield. So Jim Davis wanted to stay away from any political or social humor or commentary in his comic strip because he said there was enough of that in the rest of the paper, and he just wanted to create a character that everyone could relate to with regular daily stuff, which I thought was pretty interesting because I think, we need more of that sometimes. Sometimes we just need a break from the world, right? Mm-hmm. So Davis also said he's kind of come to understand that when people laugh at Garfield, it's because they're recognizing themselves.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
Because, Garfield oversleeps. He, eats too much of his favorite food. And, he's grumpy. He hates Mondays. Like, these are all regular things that we all do, right? So, I thought this was an interesting quote that he said. Jim Davis said, "We live in a time when we're made to feel guilty about overeating, oversleeping, not exercising. Garfield not only does that stuff, but he's cool with that. I think in a way he relieves our guilt. Garfield is everyone's alter ego."
Oh, I love that.
Right? And that's probably a big pull why we all love him because we can recognize our human traits and giggle a bit and laugh at this kitty. And Lin-Manuel Miranda actually wrote an intro to this. They had like a collection of like so many years of Garfield book come out, and he wrote an intro.
Aww.
And one of the things he said was, Garfield is an ironic, detached cat who is mean to everyone and somehow all the more lovable for it.
Oh my goodness. It is like that. Like,
I know
that he's saying what we're thinking or doing what we want to do or doing what we do, but not feeling bad in a way that like cartoons can do. First of all,
Katie loves them
but
so much.
But also in a way that animals can do.
Yes.
In the way that they just love us no matter what. In the way, like, it's kind of like he just does whatever he wants because he's a cat and he doesn't care.
Which is one of the reasons I love cats so much is because they just are who they are and they do not care. Like, you want them to do something. Well, if they want to do it, they'll do it. You can't really train a cat because they're smarter than us sometimes. So Garfield was a comic strip kitty, but he's also starred in several primetime specials. Do you remember when they would do that in the 80s and 90s where they'd have like Christmas specials?
Yes. Uh-huh.
And I remember his Thanksgiving one, and he had a Christmas one, and I think a Halloween one that was like a little spooky. But all the cartoons back in the day had their prime time specials. Big, it like came on one time. You missed it, you're out till next year.
Unless you had Danny's mom and she was able to
VCR tape it,
get it going on the VCR.
And she did. I'm fairly certain she VCR taped the specials for me. Thanks, Mom. But he also had animated series, like I talked about. He's also been in several movies. Even in recent years, they had the CGI Garfield, which I don't like, by the way.
I'm just going to ask if you like that one.
I don't.
No? Okay.
And this was fun to see. He's even been a mascot for a theme park in West Mifflin, Pennsylvania called Kennywood.
What the heck is Kennywood?
I don't know. It's like a traditional amusement park.
Like a normal... It's
like old school amusement park. Oh, okay. Yeah. And he's been their mascot before.
I like that.
There's also been tons of merch over the years. There still is. I mean, remember in the 80s, those suction cup feet Garfield things people would put on their car windows? Do you not remember those?
I don't remember those.
I do. And of course, those I Hate Monday t-shirts.
Yes.
You remember those.
People still wear those. Can buy them right now with the click of your phone.
I know. I love them. I think they're great. So Garfield's still known. He's still loved. And he still makes me laugh. So that was my first kitty. So let's hear about your first Xennial dog.
That was really cute. I shout out to Garfield. My brother AJ always liked Garfield, and I know we had some of those comic strip books that you were talking about, like the collections. Mm-hmm. He really liked Calvin and Hobbes too. So maybe he has a thing for orange cats. I don't know.
I forgot about Hobbs.
Yes, Hobbs. You can't sleep on Hobbs. My brother loved Calvin and Hobbes, and he had all the collections, and he actually has a Calvin and Hobbes tattoo, like on his quad.
I love that.
It's very cute.
Me and my husband both loved Calvin. We realized this like just a few years ago. We both love them because he still has some of the books.
Oh, wow.
And then our kids read them. And yeah, Calvin and Hobbes. Oh, I can't believe I forgot Hobbes. Okay, well, shout out Hobbes. I didn't forget you. I love you.
And just in a nutshell, if you don't know who they are, Calvin is this maybe like 10-year-old boy who's very mischievous, always into something. He has this imaginary tiger.
Well, he has a stuffed animal tiger, but then he becomes his imaginary friend. And so the comic strips pretty much happen of him and Hobbes doing all these adventures and trouble and all the things.
All the things. Yes. So that's who Hobbs is. All right. So 2 wonderful cats. So I have a few doggos that I really loved. And I actually learned a lot about these dogs. The first one, so her name is actually Gidget. She's a Chihuahua.
Oh, gosh.
If you are a Xennial or older, potentially younger, you better know her as the Yo Quiero Taco Bell dog.
Oh, I bet there's going to be some stuff here, isn't there?
Which just even saying that, I'm like,
I know.
Oh, cringe.
Cringe.
So first of all, this dog was so adorable. None of this is the dog's fault. So I'm just going to put that right out there. But so if you don't know or you need a refresher, Gidget was the official mascot and TV personality of Taco Bell from late 1997 through 2000. And if you aren't familiar with her or this campaign, she actually was portrayed as a boy dog because, of course. Yeah. Right. But there was a voiceover. So the only...
You mean it wasn't her talking?
It wasn't her. I was so disappointed to learn that when I revisited. I was like, what? Devil's advocate, maybe they hired the voice actor first and had to get a dog. But I was like, why couldn't it have just been a girl dog? But anyway, she was this adorable little Chihuahua dog who was obsessed with eating Taco Bell. And so she had this voiceover in a man's voice, Carlos Alizraki. I looked it up for pronunciation, so hopefully I'm pretty close there. And he provided the voice that later would say other phrases like drop the chalupa and viva gorditas. And I don't know if you remember this, Danny, but there was a crossover promotion with the movie Godzilla, not the original. That was way, way long before, but like whatever the reboot was. And it was these commercials. You'll have to Google it or go to YouTube if you haven't seen it or forgot about it. And it's the Godzilla character and this little Chihuahua. And she's trying to basically I think bribe it into a trap or something and start saying, here, lizard, lizard, lizard. It's this little dog, but it's a man's voice. Anyway.
That is pretty funny.
This character was so crazily popular that they had toy figures of the dog that were actually sold in the stores.
Yes.
They had the little bobblehead dogs for your car, for your dashboard. So, like a lot of things on this podcast, when we revisit, we kind of go, and other times we go, ooh.
Yeah.
This was one of those times. So I read through quite a few critiques and narratives surrounding, again, not Gidget herself, she's lovely, but this whole promotion. There were definitely a lot of Latin Americans who accused the dog depiction of being a cultural stereotype, culturally insensitive. There were even some commercials that I don't remember these, but depicted the dog as a bandito.
Oh,
so
yes.
Do you remember that one? I don't remember that one. And I didn't want to go look for the picture because I was like, I don't even want to see that. But she had a little sombrero. And anyway, she looked like Che Guevara, who obviously is very insensitive, dictator, everything bad, right? That was kind of put on this little dog. And civil rights activists.
Oh, that's when the dog had the beret on. Right?
Oh, maybe. Because, it said sombrero, but maybe, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I think
they were 2 different things. Sombrero and then also the beret.
2 horrible cultural appropriation images.
So 2 that I kind of rolled into one, but yes, 2 different things the dog wore. And then there was a civil rights activist named Mario Obladado, and he called for a boycott of Taco Bell if the company didn't end the ad campaign. They did end it in 2000. I don't know if it was actually because of these sort of boycotts, potentially. At the time, it was incorrectly reported that Gidget had died, and that's why they ended. But I read something that it was pretty boring. It was Taco Bell's profits were declining. So they were like, well, the dog's not working, so let's just like try something else, supposedly. But this dog did not die in 2000, okay? She lived to the age of 15.
That's old for a dog, right?
Yes.
Or
It's very old.
Or do smaller dogs, because they're cat-like, live longer?
Smaller dogs do tend to live longer. Yes, that is a good point. But 15 is still pretty far up there.
That's even older for a cat.
Yeah. And she crossed the Rainbow Bridge in 2009 after the Taco Bell ads were done.
Okay.
In 2002, she also appeared in a commercial for Geico. And then she was also, for our Legally Blonde friends, she was Bruiser's mom.
Oh, stop.
So Elle Woods, the main character, her chihuahua Bruiser. Gidget from Taco Bell fame was Bruiser's mom in Legally Blonde 2, Red, White, and Blonde.
That is cuteness.
Is not the cutest.
So let me ask you some questions about this problematic stuff.
Yeah.
So like when you were doing your research and did you find out who it was that came up with the idea?
It's kind of like our Happy Meal episode where there's lots of different stories, which you wouldn't think.
I know.
It's such a very specific, like a Happy Meal is kind of like, a kid's meal. Right. A lot of people could have that idea, but like a talking chihuahua selling tacos is pretty specific. But there were two men from Michigan who claim that in 1996, they were at some food convention and brought this whole pitch about this character, this talking chihuahua who is obsessed with Taco Bell, and that they were basically kind of like turned down, and then the campaign came out. So they sued Taco Bell, which could be another reason they stopped the ads, because it was around that time, and they ended up getting $31 million in damages.
Dang.
Yeah, which I don't know if that would be the equivalent of what they would have got if they bought their idea.
Were they white guys?
Yeah, they were two white guys.
See, that's where I was going with that question.
Yeah, no, it doesn't appear that it was anyone based in any sort of culture that was being depicted who wrote the scripts for this or came up with the concept.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like, I will say with cultural appropriation, and we've talked about this multiple times, that has come up because the 80s and 90s were ripe for the picking with cultural appropriation. I mean, it's America, so we're still doing it. I was just curious. The thing about cultural appropriation is, first of all, who's coming up with the ideas, right? If it's white people coming up with these ideas to take little bits of stereotypes from another culture and use them for their monetary gain, and also who's benefiting from the money that's being made. Taco Bell, like a giant corporation,
right?
So like there's no money going back to the culture they're actually using to sell their product.
There's no benefit, and I have no idea to the answer to this, so maybe this is a spin-off episode. But even Taco Bell that's what I was just thinking. Does that have origins in the culture of it's very obviously Americanized food. It's like we put a can of beans and cheese in a tortilla and call it, a burrito. But like, still, I'm going to look into that. Not right now, but I'm curious, like, was the idea of that chain even based in anything authentic, or has it just been like
good question,
Americanized consumerism from the start? I think I know what the answer to that is, but I'm going to check it out. I do love me some Taco Bell,
but okay, Gidget, we do love you. I'm sorry that people used you in such a yuck way.
Such a yuck way, but I am glad you got to be in a movie with Reese Witherspoon.
I know.
And that you lived so long.
I know.
Love you.
Yeah,
okay.
Gidget.
All right. Time for another cartoon cat.
Okay, this one has meaning to Katie because one of her daughters is obsessed. And my cat from Xennial time period is Hello Kitty.
Yes.
Still going strong.
Sanrio.
Yeah, girl. So I can actually remember when I went to my very first Sanrio store in the late 90s. I was a teenager. And I want to say it was in New Orleans, maybe in the Riverwalk. I don't know. I could probably look that up. And I was shook, right? It was so fun. That was the first time I'd been in a store like that, where it's just all the all the characters. And by the way, I'll explain what that is in a second. Sanrio is the Japanese company that creates all these cute little cartoon characters. So there's Hello Kitty, there's Karopi, there's I can't think of any other names.
Cinnamon Roll.
Oh, Cinnamon Roll. I mean, there's a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
So excuse me. So it was the mid 90s when I went to that Sanrio store. And that's when American pop culture started to become obsessed with the Japanese kawaii aesthetic. Hopefully I'm saying that right. That word kind of translates to mean cuteness or causing feelings of cuteness.
I've never heard this before.
Right?
But
I
I
love
can yes, I totally understand.
Yes. So Hello Kitty, like I said, is still around, still popular. We love her. So she was actually created by the Japanese merchandising company Sanrio, which I just mentioned, in 1974. And she was a part of a line of cartoon characters that they were using to embellish their products. So she was created to sell things. And it works. So,
okay.
And her appearance has really not changed since her OG design. It really hasn't changed. Sanrio has an official bio of her on their website, and it is so cute. Are you ready?
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Hello Kitty was born in the suburbs of London. She lives with her parents and her twin sister, Mimi.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
There's two?
I guess so. But they don't sell Mimi, so I don't know. She lives with her parents, her twin sister, Mimi, who is her best friend. Her hobbies include baking cookies and making new friends. As she always says, you can never have too many friends.
That's adorable.
Right?
I want to go on a crusade to find Mimi.
Mimi. I did not
cute.
see any Mimi. I think it's just,
It's just in the bio. And also I didn't know she was from London.
Right, which I thought was really interesting. But anyway, but here's the other crazy thing that I found was Sanrio states she is a little girl, not a cat, although she displays feline characteristics. So okay, I do not get this. Katie, look at that picture of Hello Kitty. Mm-hmm. She is white. She has cat ears. She has whiskers and she has this little nose. I don't understand.
Her ears, unless it's a little girl wearing a mask, but it doesn't say that.
I know.
She's not a cat?
That's what they say. She is a little girl with feline characteristics. So
No.
maybe, yeah.
No.
I mean, so take that for what you may. I don't know. So by 1983, she made her way over to America. And then Hello Kitty was all over things for little girls. Okay. It started off for little girls. It was barrettes, coin purses, school supplies, because it was the 80s. So pencils, backpacks, all the things.
Stickers.
Yes,
all the
stickers. But in the 90s, late 90s, when I went to the Sanrio store, that's when items were starting to be released that were marketed to teens and adult women. So handbags, backpacks. Remember mini backpacks? Mm-hmm. Yes. I mean, they're back now, but they weren't back until recently. But in the mid 90s, they were big. Makeup, jewelry, and they even started making household appliances like toasters and stuff with Hello Kitty.
I have a vague memory of that.
And they still do.
In college who really, really liked Hello Kitty. And I feel like her apartment might have had things like that. Like the Hello Kitty toaster and I don't even, maybe a curling iron. I don't know. I just
all
feel
the
like
things.
Everything. Yeah.
So that's when they started shifting their marketing to be, older teens and adults. So y'all know I loved my cartoons back in the day. Hello Kitty had a TV show called Hello Kitty's Furry Tale Theater.
Wow.
And I'm gonna need y'all to look up the intro. It's on YouTube. It debuted in 1987. I totally remember this. And when I was researching and I came across it, I remembered the theme song. So not the whole thing, just the main part. I'm not going to sing it because it's not that exciting. But what they would do each episode was Hello Kitty and her friends had this theater. And so they would put on a classic fairy tale story and retell it.
That's really cute. That's a cartoon I think I could get behind.
I think you should look it up. It's so cute. Hello Kitty's Fairy Tale Theater. Yes, I loved it. I watched it. I don't think this was one that made it into my VCR recordings though, but I did watch it. But Hello Kitty also starred in books, video games, and again, is one of the mascots in 2 theme parks in Japan.
Wow.
A theme park called Puroland and then also one called Harmonyland. Plus, get out of here, fancy Hello Kitty. She was also named Japan's official tourism ambassador to China in 2008.
I mean, that makes sense that I know she's human now. Now that you've told me, I'm like, yeah, ambassador to China, of course. If she was a cat, no. Let alone a cartoon.
If she was a cartoon cat, forget about it.
But little girl, maybe adult woman at this point, yes.
So did you have Hello Kitty stuff?
I really didn't. I liked Hello Kitty.
You did? Okay.
But I just wasn't.
But you have a daughter who does love
Yeah,
her.
so I have a daughter who t-shirts, like a piggy bank. I mean, literally everything.
Yeah.
And it is, the kind of thing every birthday or Christmas, maybe for the past year and a half, she has, that's what people get her.
Yes.
It's Hello Kitty stuff, her friends. Excuse me. But she likes all the Sanrio,
Yeah, all the
so
Sanrio.
she does get Kuropi and all of that stuff too, but Hello Kitty's her favorite.
Is her jam.
Yeah.
Yeah, my youngest also enjoys Sanrio. He likes Kuropi, and I forgot the other one that he likes, but it's that kawaii aesthetic, that the cute, cuteness or whatever.
Yeah.
So here's something else I found to be interesting that I hadn't thought about. There's actually been some criticism over the way she is drawn with no mouth. So see how she doesn't have a mouth?
Yeah.
Some critics say that Hello Kitty perpetuates submissive behavior in women by not allowing them to express themselves. So I never thought about that before. But even me, who's always like throwing the word patriarchy and nonsense out, that might be a bit reaching. I don't know.
So in the show you watched,
She
Hello
did have
Kitty's
a mouth.
Furry Tale Theater, she spoke and had a mouth. Okay. So when she's like in motion, she's given a voice and I guess a mouth. It's just the static version of her that doesn't have the mouth in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think their criticism was that they were saying the Japanese artists were trying to like send a message across.
I mean, maybe.
But I think there's other female presenting Sanrio characters that do have mouths, right?
I think so.
So I don't know.
Should have brought out some of my daughter's stuff.
But that is a criticism of her. I don't know. Take that for what you will. But that was my second kitty, Hello Kitty.
She's so cute.
I know.
I do like her. So far, I am on board with the cats.
Yay!
And now for something totally different.
Okay, I can't wait. So pumped.
So my second dog, I wouldn't say he's like my favorite, but he's a very memorable dog to me from growing up, is the original party animal himself, Spuds McKenzie.
Oh my God, yes.
Bud Light's spokes dog.
I'm so glad you have him.
1980s.
Yes.
So another dog who was actually a girl. Yes, she was a female dog.
Really?
Her name was Honey Tree Evil Eye. Just got to be some kind of someone who lost
name.
a bet.
I love it.
Yeah, she's a diva, by the way. But you could call her Evie for short. She would go by Evie.
Okay.
But she was portrayed as male. I mean, again, probably another one where they developed the character, then hired the dog.
Oh,
but
yeah.
still. She only lived to 9, though. And I'll describe the kind of dog she was in a second. She died just a few months shy of her 10th birthday. So rest in peace, Evie. But Spuds, the character, was a bull terrier. If you're not sure what kind of dog that is, it kind of reminds me of the Target dog.
Yeah.
It's like that white dog. The Target dog Bullseye has like the little mark on its face, and Spuds had different marks, different places. Just like a nice little like hardy, medium-sized dog with kind of the pointy ears. So Bud Light would have her. I'm just going to call her a her because I know Evie's a girl. Okay, so we're just going to say that. She would wear Hawaiian shirts, swim trunks, sunglasses. She would hang out with bikini-clad women on beaches or besides pools.
It's so 80s.
Drinking Bud Light. Everyone was in like neon swimsuits.
Yes.
It was, I watched a few commercials and they're just so funny.
I know.
And like even the beer cans, it's like that old
old,
Bud Light
yes.
design and the bottles. So again, kids, maybe, it is alcohol. So maybe ask your parents if you're listening to look these up. But if you're looking just for Spuds, it's very cute. You can still find her on YouTube. So my parents, they weren't really into like anything licensed stuff. Like I already spoke about how we didn't get the fast food glasses or anything like we talked about on our Happy Meals episode. But so we didn't have anything Spuds related at home, except maybe for the Bud Light. That was probably there. But I remember going to a friend's house when I was in about second grade. So it would have been about 8. And her parents had one of those like shiny mirrors that had the etching that would say like Bud Light. And then like you would see almost at a bar.
Yeah.
Behind the bar. And Spuds was on it. It was like a decal
it was like
of
in their
Spuds.
kitchen?
It wasn't. It was like a laundry room.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of weird. But it was like a mud room. So you would like walk into the house and walk through it. So I
80s.
remember seeing it and being like, huh. Unless it was just like a gift and they're like, well, we got to hang it somewhere. Let's put it over here.
In our entryway.
Oh, yeah. And I
this.
really did think it was adorable, but I was also like, why is this dog drinking beer? Like, what is going on here? I don't understand. So with that in mind, Danny, from everything I've just told you about Evie/Spuds, can you imagine any sort of issue or conflict that might have arisen with this adorable pup touting beer?
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, it's probably like the whole Camel cigarettes thing with the cartoon camel. Like you're using like adorable kid appealing images to sell a very grown up product.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, and that was probably the biggest controversy with the Spuds McKinsey ads. Politicians and advocacy groups criticized the ads for what you just said, promoting consumption of alcohol to children. And soon after they first aired in 1987, our good friend, Senator Strom Thurmond, began his own media campaign. Wow. Claiming that the beer maker was using Spuds to appeal to children in order to get them interested in their product at an early age, which gotta say, I kind of agree. You could have anything in your commercials and you have a cute dog in like swim trunks. What's happening?
I'm kind of conflicted on that. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's just they never had kids in the ads. It's always very adult activities.
True. Which was what made it kind of...
That's why it was kind of silly and
made you
fun
giggle.
And worked.
It did work.
I mean...
Yeah, that's another one. It's hard to say.
I'm on the fence. I'm weird with that because it's like capitalism, but also we don't need to like persuade people to be drinking with kids' images because they're going to be doing it anyway. Or not people, but children.
Yeah.
But hold on. That came out weird. That was the weirdest sentence. We'll just leave it in.
Rewind.
That's fine.
Start again.
I don't even know what I was trying to say.
Move along.
So maybe my brain was like, whatever. Y'all are going to be like, so nobody take that and like make a soundbite somewhere because who knows?
It's already on the way, I think.
I know. It's going to happen. But I don't know. I feel kind of weird about it.
Kind of to your point, does seeing ads where people are dressed really nice and enjoying themselves and drinking, doesn't that sort of influence children too?
Right.
Or at least teenagers?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but like that's all advertising.
Yeah.
Is, all advertising puts forward this silly ideal, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, totally.
But then I understand, like you don't want to use specific like kid images for adult products. Like that is weird. It is inappropriate. So I don't know.
But is he a kid image?
Right.
He's really not.
I mean, he's a dog. So like dogs aren't just for kids.
Yeah. Especially if they're drinking beer.
Correct.
Well, we'll see how you feel about this then, because in Christmas 1987, there was more legal action because Bud Light used Spuds dressed as Santa. I know, right?
I remember that. I do.
So again, I don't know. I mean, Santa's a kid thing, but also Santa's associated with Christmas, even if you're an adult.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of a silly, like... Oh, this dog is drinking beer and he's Santa. That's two silly things. Like
I get it though, because then kids, I don't know.
It's more memorable for sure. But then in 1989, the Center for Science and the Public Interest, along with Mothers Against Drunk Driving, alleged that Anheuser-Busch, the company that owns Bud Light, was pitching the dog to children. But the Federal Trade Commission found no evidence to support that other than the fact that he was just a cute dog. Regardless, Anheuser-Busch decided to retire Spuds in 1989, that same year, claiming that the character's image started to overshadow the product, which I'll agree with.
It's Bud Light, so like it doesn't take much. It's gross beer.
It's like, this dog is better than your beer.
I mean, I'm not even a dog person, and I will say probably.
You're like, Spuds over Bud Light. So he has, not Evie herself, but a dog that obviously looked like Evie, has made other appearances. In 2017, the character appeared in Bud Light's Super Bowl commercial and was a ghost. Who helps a man named Brian reunite with his friends. And the ad was an homage to Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. And the house number in the advertisement had 1989 in it, which was the year Spuds was retired.
I love me an Easter egg like that.
Isn't that cute?
I love me an Easter egg shout out like that.
So that's kind of adorable. Obviously, it wasn't Evie, the orig, but still, just the idea of it, is very, very cute.
That's cute.
That was kind of fun, honestly, to watch some of those commercials and just be like, they're trying really hard to get people to pay attention to this beer and also like drink it.
Yeah. I mean, do you remember the Budweiser frogs?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh
so
my
that
gosh.
was the 90s, right?
Yes.
I mean, I will say I don't like, I am a beer drinker, but I do not like Bud Light. But like, they did have some good advertising.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
I can't lie.
If you don't know who the frogs are, younger people, there were a few of them, right?
There's three. It was Budweiser.
And they go, Bud. Why? Zer.
Didn't they also have those commercials with the never mind. It doesn't matter.
If it comes back, we're right here.
I'm like on all cylinders today, obviously.
Yeah, me too. We're both a little, we're like, what's a Xennial? We have a Xennial podcast? What?
So silly.
What's happening? Okay. All right, time for another cat.
Okay, so this is actually good. I was just saying I'm not firing on all cylinders, and neither was my next cat.
Oh, no.
So it's another cartoon cat, Katie. Sorry, not sorry. So you can see his picture right there. This cat is from a Nickelodeon show called Ren and Stimpy, and it is the cat Stimpy. So this was a cartoon, but it appealed to like older kids, teens, and even adults. It became like a favorite, kind of a cult classic. So Ren and Stimpy were these obnoxious, kind of gross, inappropriate, and in my opinion, hella funny. It was a cat and dog duo. So we'll talk a little bit about Ren. So you're getting a little dog stuff in there too.
Nice.
This was not like a cutesy cartoon show. Okay. This I watched in middle school and even high school. So do you remember Ren and Stimpy?
So another one, my brother AJ loved Ren and Stimpy, and I just thought they were not funny. And I mean, I was, I guess, even a little older.
Yeah. I mean, it's toilet humor.
It's toilet humor. And I was like, they're kind of gross. And honestly, I did not know that Stimpy was a cat.
Yeah. Yeah. So
even looking at this picture, I'm having trouble.
Well, if you watch the show, they always have like cat and dog jokes in there. Like he had a lot of litter box jokes and like.
Okay.
Yeah.
I might have to just stomach an episode.
You'll hate it.
I'm going to hate every second of it. It's going to be great. I'm going to need a Bud Light.
Yeah, you might need a Bud Light.
Through it. Yes.
So here's some history for you. So Ren and Stimpy was an animated cartoon series created by, I might mispronounce his last name, but it's John Kricfalusi.
Okay.
I don't know.
Doesn't sound familiar, but
cool. Anyway, it was created for Nickelodeon and it aired from 1991 to 1996. So perfect in our little time period that we speak about. The series focuses on a short-tempered chihuahua named Ren, and then a soft-hearted yet dim-witted cat named Stimpy. And I loved him. He was so cute. So his full name is Stimpson J Cat.
Aww.
And his signature look, if you see, he's red. He's got a big blue nose. Especially his big blue nose came from a Tweety Bird cartoon called A Gruesome Twosome. So you can Google that. The little animated short has two cats in it, one of whom has like this obscenely large nose. And if you go back and look at that cartoon, you can see the artist's inspiration to draw Stimpy. The cat in the cartoon actually, though, was modeled after an entertainer by the name of Jimmy Durante. He was a comedian, actor, and if you look up a picture of him, do it right now, Katie. Google his name.
Jimmy Durante.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And hopefully I'm saying his last name right. you might recognize him if you've ever watched like old stuff, and you'll see he looks like Stimpy.
I'm so excited.
I know. So I'm going to wait till you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So the cat that Stimpy was based on was drawn based on that guy. Got it?
Got it.
Cool. Ren, the Chihuahua, was based on a photograph that the artist saw on a postcard that was of a Chihuahua in a sweater. What? So that was his like inspiration.
That's so funny.
Also, Stimpy's voice in the show was based on Larry from the Three Stooges.
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
Okay.
So lots of fun little interesting creative things.
I love when they like pull inspiration from lots of different places.
Yeah. So I thought that was fun to find out. So Nickelodeon executives in the early 90s, they approached Kricfalusi because they wanted some more like original cartoon creations just for Nickelodeon. Okay. And they called them Nicktoons. And interestingly enough, Ren and Stimpy debuted on the same day as two other iconic Nicktoons of the era, which were Doug and Rugrats.
Wow.
Yeah. So they all debuted on the same day. I know. Pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Ren and Stimpy originally aired on Nickelodeon, but then they also eventually aired on MTV, MTV2, and Spike TV. Because like I said, Ren and Stimpy appeals to older audiences. Even though it is a kid's show, it's still marketed as a kid's show. So there was lots of controversy related to this show. Okay. Some was in regards to the content. I mean, they had dark humor. They had some sexual innuendos, which a lot of the stuff would have gone over children's heads.
Yeah.
There was excessive violence. So if you've ever watched The Simpsons and the Itchy and Scratchy show, kind of reminds me of Ren and Stimpy. And I don't know if that's what it was based on when they put it in there.
Right.
And then also there was controversy because the creator was like super hard to work with. He had issues with the Nickelodeon corporate people. He mistreated his staff. He had like anger issues. And then I also saw apparently he had some inappropriate interactions with teenage girls.
Yikes.
Yeah. So there's a documentary from 2020 called Happy Happy Joy Joy, The Rise and Fall of Ren and Stimpy, that chronicles like the kind of dark side of the creation of Ren and Stimpy. And I need to watch it. I can't find it to stream anywhere for free. It's on a bunch of streaming platforms to like pay for, but I have got to watch it because it sounds like
you might have to report back.
Yeah, there's a lot of mess there. Something else I found, and I looked it up. There was a 2003 redo of the show called Ren and Stimpy Adult Party Cartoon. All right.
What?
So this one was created specifically for adult audiences. Okay. So it had adult themes and it created a homosexual relationship between Ren and Stimpy. It was really poorly received, not because of that. And only 3 of the 6 original episodes were aired before it was canceled. So I looked it up on YouTube and I watched like the first 5 minutes of it, and I can totally see why people didn't like it. It wasn't funny. It did not translate.
Yeah.
Like it was too far from the original. The artwork looked very similar because it has a very distinct drawing style. The artwork looked similar, but like the content, the voices were off. Like, and then like it was just, I don't know. It just bleh.
I feel like too sometimes when you make a romantic relationship between characters that are supposed to be like friends, rubs people the wrong way. Like no matter what,
right? Like, yeah, it was just weird. It was like what I mean, not like that's fine to make them have a relationship with other people, but like the whole premise of the show was their friendship.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
it kind of takes it way off course.
Yeah, it was like unnecessary. Like I felt like it was an unnecessarily, they were just like, how many adult things can we throw into this show at once?
Yeah, I could see that. So don't watch the reboot.
I mean, you can watch it if you want. Like I said, my intention was to watch the whole first episode and I was like, oh, this is not even funny. But like we've talked about Ren and Stimpy before because I got one of those trivia questions.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I loved Stimpy because he was like, again, not very intelligent, but he had a big heart. And Ren was always so mad at him. But he was just always trying to do the right thing. He was goofy. I loved that show, but that was the time period when I was really like Beavis and Butthead came out not too later. I loved that one as well. I was a teenager, so anything that was kind of off the beaten path, I was down with. Although Katie was not a fan. We have some stuff going on outside her window.
What is that? Is that a person?
I think it's like, I don't know.
Weird. Well,
anyway,
I don't hear it through my headphones, so hopefully listeners, wow, we are losing it today. But on that, let me move to my next dog.
Yes. Yay.
So I said at the top of the episode that I'm a dog person. Mm-hmm. Specifically, I am a big dog person. The bigger the dog, the more I love it. I do have a 6-pound little Papillon who I adore. But generally speaking, I've always loved just like huge dogs, Great Danes. Like if I could live on a farm and like have all the big dogs, I would. I can't where I live based on where I live now. My lab's like almost 80 pounds and that's like a stretch. She's knocking things over constantly and like running laps in our backyard because like there's not enough space for her. But I can trace all of this love for big dogs back to a specific movie that I watched growing up, and it was Beethoven.
Okay.
Danny, did you watch the Beethoven movies?
I did watch. I know for sure I watched the first one.
Yeah. So there ended up being 8.
Yeah, there was a bunch, right?
It was crazy. I didn't know there were that many.
And I think I watched maybe the second one too, like when they played it on TV or something.
Yeah. So the first one did premiere April 3rd, 1992. So that's like perfect. Like mom and dad get me a dog age for me. Like I was 10. They did not get me a Saint Bernard.
Ooh.
So that's, let me tell you the official synopsis of the movie if you're not familiar or if you have forgot. So when the family of George Newton, who is played by this actor Charles Grodin, who's really good at being like a grumpy dad.
Yes.
I think he did that in like several movies. So when the family of George Newton decides to adopt a cute Saint Bernard puppy, the patriarch soon feels displaced by the dog. Before long, the adorable canine dubbed Beethoven has grown considerably, leading to household mishaps. While George's wife and kids dote on Beethoven, it takes time for him to see the pooch's finer qualities. However, Beethoven's life with the Newton family is jeopardized when a scheming vet tries to nab the dog for a deadly experiment, which I did not remember at all.
Me either.
I didn't remember that plot line at all.
Always got to be an evil scientist.
Always got to be like, isn't it enough just to have the journey with the dad? But I guess maybe my thought is from a plot perspective, maybe that's what brings the family together to like get Beethoven back. But I just remember this like giant, adorable dog, not meaning to, but just like wreaking havoc on everything, knocking stuff over, drooling on everything, chewing on everything, and how the wife and the kids were like always on the dog's side. I think the mom was Bonnie Hunt, awesome actress from the 90s and before and after. And so it drove the dad just like absolutely crazy. So it was funny flashing back to this now because it really reminds me of my husband. Because he doesn't like dislike our dogs, but he's just not really into dogs.
He's ambivalent, He's
ambivalent. I would say toward the side of not really liking them. He just like they're more. We already have 5 kids, like, and now we've also got to take care of these dogs, and he loves them for the kids. Like he thinks it's great that like they're having pets growing up, and that's why he eventually gave in to getting 1 and then 2. But it is funny because they'll do something. They'll knock something over or they'll make a mess. And 2 seconds later, me and the kids are like, you're just the best. We love you. Meanwhile, Brant's like mopping the floor. So it did kind of remind me of like real life. I was like, oh, wow, this really seems like our real life right now. So the dog for this one was a boy dog. Okay. His name was Chris.
Oh,
200-pound dog.
Ew.
That is a big dog.
I'm sorry. I don't need an animal in my house that weighs more than me.
It's like a pony. Like that's wild.
Like it's probably taller than me. Like if you have to stand up.
Oh, he probably was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't need that. Like that's Katie, you want that in your house? That's like a horse.
Maybe if I had like a barn it could live in a little stable.
Oh man.
And I could just go out and like pet it when I wanted to. That wouldn't
wild.
Be a fun life for the dog though. So this dog's name was Chris.
That's cute.
And I guess he passed away after the release of the second movie from natural causes.
Don't they have a lot of health problems?
I was going to say, so 2 things here. the bigger the dog,
Yeah.
usually their lifespan's shorter because things just, their heart runs out faster, etc. Also purebred dogs. I don't know if it's the same with cats, but if you get a purebred Saint Bernard or even our little Papillon, like they're more prone to cancers and heart problems and stuff like that. Because there's, inbreeding for that sort of thing. Like it's better to get a dog that's a couple different breeds if you want a dog that's going to live for a really long time.
Yeah.
Generally speaking.
Yeah. We have always only had shelter animals. So I have no idea really
And have they lived a long time?
Yeah.
Usually? Yeah.
Yeah. We just have like a mix.
I mean, there's always things that can happen to animals, just like people.
Oh, yeah.
But, as a general observation. But Chris, the Saint Bernard, had this awesome trainer. And the trainer said, Chris was a great kid.
Aww.
He had no idea how big he was and often wanted to sit as close as possible and sometimes on top of you. Oh, you're kind of dog, Danny.
Oh my God, drive me nuts.
I'm just picturing Beethoven sitting right next to you
Ew.
on my couch over there, just like towering over you.
Listen, I had a friend when we lived in Virginia who had a giant Labradoodle. Talking about your dog, Sarah, who loved, like she was like that. Like that dog, she probably still is, thought that she was a little dog.
Yeah.
And she would just be all over you, try and get in your lap.
Yeah.
But I mean, Sarah kept her off me. Thank you.
Good job, Sarah.
But that cracks me up because they're just
they don't have a concept. Yeah.
Bull in a china shop.
And what I really loved about the Beethoven movies and just Beethoven as a character is that he was just being a dog.
Yeah.
The storyline was really the family's storyline about adopting a pet. And so there was no voiceover. There was nothing like that. It was just normal, exaggerated dog things, right? Like this dog got into all sorts of mischief, probably more, I would think, than the average dog. But that's what I liked. It was just normal family life with this kind of crazy dog. And how do you... when you get a new pet, how do you adjust your lifestyle and how do you make it their home too? Like you were talking about earlier and just the lessons in that and how it kind of bonds you together, having a pet, like a cat, a dog, whatever.
Yeah.
When the family comes around that pet, that's a moment, and I think that's even as a kid, if I couldn't put my finger on it, that's why I really liked these movies.
Because he was just himself.
He was just himself, his big goofy self. Now, so I said there were 8 films. This is crazy, and I did not know this.
I did know this.
You knew this?
I'll tell you why in a minute.
Okay. These movies were written by John Hughes, who wrote Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That John Hughes wrote the Beethoven movies. Yep. How did you know? And tell me about it.
Well, because I am a big, now it's debatable, was a big John Hughes fan. Like all those movies you just listed were my top favorite movies for years. Revisiting some of them, they're kind of problematic. Learning more about him, he's kind of problematic. So but I did know he wrote this movie.
That is
so
wild.
I am impressed that I actually knew that. But I did know that because I was a big John Hughes fan.
That is crazy. So I just said here, I guess he got tired or wanted to take a little break from teenage angst and moved on to the angst of owning. Maybe he got older.
Maybe.
And that was what he wanted to write about.
Question.
I mean, he did get older, obviously. Not maybe. But
did
yes.
Beethoven take place in Sherman, Illinois, or wherever all those other movies took place?
No.
Remember?
That would have been a sign that he wrote it.
We'll have to
look that up.
Because, all those movies took place in that fictional town.
Yeah, it was definitely a suburb. I can see the house in my head, but I'm not sure where they were supposed to be. But anyway.
That's awesome.
All right, back to...
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. I remember those movies. They were cute. Even for people who don't like dogs, okay?
They were cute, yeah.
So another cartoon cat is on my list, and it's another orange cat. Because I love orange kitties, guys. And
this picture's so cute.
Right? So my next Xennial cat is Oliver from the movie Oliver and Company, which is a Disney movie. Fun fact, I actually got a cat around this time that was orange and white, and we named him Oliver because for the movie, and we called him Ollie.
Wow.
So cute.
That's
anyways,
adorable.
So this movie, Oliver and Company, came out right before the Disney Renaissance started. So right before Little Mermaid. And I distinctly remember going to see this at the movies. Billy Joel which I incorrectly said before in our Disney Renaissance was Huey Lewis. I said Huey Lewis was the voice. Wrong. It was Billy Joel. He voiced one of the characters in the movie, which was a dog named Dodger. And he sang an iconic song from the movie, Why Should I Worry? I still remember the chorus too, and it was a bop. And you need to look it up. You would like this song, Katie, so you need to look it up later.
I feel like I don't know it, so I definitely will.
Yeah,
I'll definitely
it's really cute.
Check it out.
Really good song. So this movie was released in 1988, and interesting, it was based on the story of Oliver Twist. So Oliver is this little orange stray kitty who he's homeless on the streets of New York, and he joins a gang of thieving stray dogs led by Dodger, who I just said was voiced by Billy Joel.
Okay.
And of course, stuff goes wrong. There's antics. They try to rob a limo with some rich people in it, and there's a little girl in there with her dad, and she sees Oliver. She adopts him. I don't want to ruin the whole movie for you. So there's all these things that happen. There's chases. There's loan sharks. But of course, there's a happy ending, and Jenny permanently adopts Oliver. But the dogs just come visit him off and on. They still live in the street because they're like happy with their situation. But anyway, the funny thing is the cat is the main character, but really the movie is just mostly about dogs.
So, I was about to say, this is a more dog-heavy movie than I knew.
Yeah. It is. It's mostly about dogs. He's the main character, but it's mostly about dogs. And while I was researching, I totally did not realize that Billy Joel was not the only famous voice.
Okay.
So Joey Lawrence of Blossom stardom.
Oh, I love Joey Lawrence.
He was the voice of Oliver when he was younger.
Wow.
I know.
That's amazing.
And then Bette Midler was the voice of Georgette, the poodle in the movie. And then Dom DeLuise was the voice of Fagin. And Cheech Marin was the voice of Tito.
Wow.
So Cheech Marin's his voice has been in lots of Disney movies. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just generally
his voice
like
is
animated.
Used a lot.
Yeah, his voice is used a lot.
So that was kind of a fun thing to realize that I didn't remember. So the movie actually was a box office success, but it wasn't loved by critics for various reasons that some said the story wasn't great. Some said, whatever, but it did well at the box office. Yeah. So when the movie was released, there were Happy Meal toys that we talked about at McDonald's, but there was also, they had these musical Christmas ornaments. And I'm pretty sure once I saw the picture that we had one. With as much as I went to McDonald's, side note, my husband's catching up on our podcast episodes. Yeah. And he was like, he got to the Happy Meal one and he's like, I did not realize you ate at McDonald's as much as you did as a kid. Because they like never ate fast food, like ever.
And how long have you guys been together?
I know.
Like 20 years?
I told him, we ate fast food a lot in the 80s. And he was like, I did not. So I was like, yes, I did. Thank you. Save your judgment.
For learning something new about me, your wife.
I know. But anyway, they re-released Oliver in 1996. I also remember this because I remember going back to see it. And they released it in direct competition with the movie All Dogs Go to Heaven. Do you remember this movie?
I think I maybe
saddest movie
saw
ever.
Part of that movie, and I've always loved dogs so much. I don't think I was ever able to finish it.
Yeah. The ending is just one of the heartbreakingest. I don't even like dogs and it's sad. Mm-hmm. Anyways, it came out on the same weekend as that dog came out. They did that on purpose.
Like the re-release. Okay.
Yeah. But this time they had a partnership with Burger King instead of McDonald's.
Okay.
So they had like Burger King toys. So if you look for Oliver and Company kids meal toys, you can find McDonald's ones from the 80s and Burger King ones from the 90s. So
that's really cool.
I know.
And listeners, if you have one of each,
I know,
send us a picture.
I don't think the Burger King ones were as cute. Yeah.
Okay.
That's just my opinion. But anyway, so even though Oliver and Company is not in the Disney Renaissance era officially, there is like a whole lot of love from Disney fans, and it's become like a cult classic. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking about positioning.
Right.
I'm thinking like Oliver may have helped launch the Disney Renaissance though, because if you have this whole group of kids and parents who went and saw it and they're like, oh, Disney has another movie now. It's almost like a warm up to, I mean, obviously it's a very different movie than The Little Mermaid or whatever, but I think we take for granted, I should say, that we have so many kids films and cartoons at our fingertips now. When you're talking about like the late 80s,
I know
there wasn't much.
No,
not really, not movies or films. So if this was before Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, and it did well, I mean, that makes sense to me. That people, I mean, also Oliver's very, very cute.
Yeah.
But
the music is great. I think as a musician, you would love the music in this movie.
Maybe I could pull that song for some of my students.
Oh, you should.
I was just thinking that.
Worry? That's how it goes.
That'd be fun.
Why should I care? It's so cute.
Oh,
I sounded just like Billy Joel, didn't I?
I thought you sounded like Huey Lewis, but what do I know?
Either one.
Either one's fine.
Obviously, I don't know the
compliment.
difference. Okay, so what is your next dog? I think you have one more, right?
Well, yeah. So technically, I have two more, but they're kind of combined into one.
Okay.
And kind of like you just had dogs in your film, my film that these are from also has a cat. So there'll be a little shout out to a cat here.
Yay.
And my two final dogs are Shadow and Chance from the movie Homeward Bound, which I did reference in our intro. And there was also a cat named Sassy in that film. And it was released in 1993. So the premise is these three pets, right? And their family is moving and the pets are coming later, something like that. So they experience their family leaving them. And this is one where I said Beethoven didn't have a voiceover or whatever. This one did.
Yes.
So each of these animals, and I'll tell you who in a second, had a voice. So you could like hear the dogs talking to each other and what their thoughts were and that sort of thing. Only when the people weren't around.
But they were like real animals.
They were real animals. This was a live action film. And they did train real dogs, and then they put a voiceover on top.
Yeah.
So, like, their mouths weren't moving or anything like that. But it's one of those things, once you watch a couple of minutes of it, your brain's like, okay, I'm cool. Like, I can follow this story this way. And it was done pretty well.
Oh, I think so.
And so, of the three pets, so essentially the pets feel that something's going on with their owners, and they're going to go and find them. So that's what happens.
Yes.
And spoiler alert, in the end, they do. But it's after this like crazy adventure where they're trying to find their family. And then the family realizes the pets are missing. So they're trying to find the pets.
Yes.
And I can't quite remember, but I feel like maybe the dad was a stepdad or something. Like it was some sort of life situation that was changing. Maybe it was just the move.
Oh, probably. Divorce was a very common theme in the 80s, 90s,
I feel
90s.
like it was something like that. So they had new dad, maybe a new stepdad, and they were moving. And so the kids were all, bent out of shape. And there were three kids. Each one of these pets belonged to each kid. So you had Shadow, who was this beautiful golden retriever. He was the older, the wiser of the two dogs. I loved him, the big dog. And his voice was an actor named Don Amici. He did a lot of voiceover work, and he had this very gravelly, old, wise voice, whether it was a character voice or his actual voice, I don't know. And then you had Chance, who is the wild puppy of the two. A little bit of a terrier. I believe they call him a mutt a couple times. Like he was a mixed breed dog, a rescue dog. And he was voiced by Michael J. Fox, who was in everything and every voice at the time. And then the cat, Sassy, was, I don't know what kind of cat this is. What kind of cat is Sassy? She's like
look her up.
Look her up.
Look up her picture.
Very fluffy. I want to say, I have no idea.
Keep talking.
Sorry, everyone. Her voice was Sally Field. So I love Sally Field.
That.
So those that don't know, if you've ever seen Forrest Gump, Sally Field is Forrest Gump's mom. She's been in like a ton of other things. Mrs. Doubtfire, I think she was the mom on, which was probably around this time too.
She's amazing.
She was having a moment. Yes.
So Sassy is a Himalayan.
Okay. So she's a Himalayan.
She looks like a fluffy Siamese cat is what she looks like.
Yeah. She's very fancy.
Long hair, big blue eyes.
Yes. Yeah. And she, in the film, was like kind of set up to be the smartest of the three.
Because she's a cat.
Because she's a cat. And especially Chance, he was kind of like, the mischievous little brother.
Well, she's the only female.
She's also the only female. So she's like, got to know everything. So basically, they go on this adventure. It's very cute. They're all sort of sticking to their personalities. I think it's like Chance and Sassy at one point want to give up, and then this older, wiser Shadow kind of talks them into it. So there's this scene at the end where the animals find their way to the new home somehow, And the kids and the parents have pretty much given up.
Yeah.
I don't know how much time has passed, but enough that they were like,
well, they moved like cross country or something, right?
It was like really far.
Yeah.
And I think the dogs like hop on truck. Like I'd have to rewatch it.
Wasn't there some like incident with like a river or something?
Yes. There's
one of them got stuck in a river.
Yeah. I want to say it was Chance.
Isn't there always like some rushing river scene?
Yes. I can see it.
I know.
And then they have to like save Chance. Yeah. And then, so basically the animals sort of have their own sort of revelation on life in the process. And somehow they find their way to the kids at the end. And there's this scene where the kids are outside the house looking at this field behind their house. And here come their pets. Chance is kind of bounding. The cat's moving. And the older dog, Shadow's just limping along. And you hear the little boy, Shadow's owner being like, Shadow. And then the voice actor's going, Peter.
Oh.
Do you remember? I can't.
I can't.
I'm like tearing up right now.
I know.
And they're just, it's so cute. And I mean, all the dog, and the dogs are like kind of hurt. And I think Shadow's like really hurt, but like you're made to believe that everyone was okay at the end. So I just like sob when I watched that one. I haven't even watched it with my kids, even though it was one of my favorite movies. And I think I watched it several times growing up. I know I did. I don't know if I can do it. And
I know it's a lot.
And my kids are animal lovers, like all animals. So I'm just like, I don't know. But they did go on to make a second one, which I vaguely remember. And it's a similar storyline. They're on vacation or something. And the dog, I don't remember.
Probably not as good. Sequels never are.
Yeah. But those were my final two dogs.
I love that.
Shadow and Chance, with a little shout out to the cat, Sassy. Well, I didn't even bother looking up what kind of cat she was. Like, I don't know. She was
whatever,
a cat.
Danny. What kind of cat?
She was there. I don't know. She was cute though.
I will say, my last cat, I didn't even count. Like, I didn't even remember how many we said we were going to list, and I just listed 5. So here we go.
Let's do it.
Right? I think
I've said 5.
Okay. So my last one is like kind of real and kind of not. It's not a cartoon. How's that?
Ooh.
Okay. And the cat that I am going to talk about is Binks from Hocus Pocus.
Oh, I love Hocus Pocus.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, so Binks was the talking black cat in the 1993 Halloween classic Hocus Pocus. So Binks was really a young boy named Thaddeus Binks. Thackeray Binks.
Okay.
Who was cursed by the Sanderson sisters and trapped in the body of a cat. Okay. I loved this movie. It actually came out when I was in middle school, like right before I turned 13. Mm-hmm. So it was like, I just loved it. It was great. The music was great. It was kind of campy, right? Just enough creepiness for me. Like I wasn't super into super scary stuff yet. I loved Bette Midler at that time. She was one of my faves, and I just thought it was such a fun movie. And everyone, the little sister in the movie, do you remember her name?
I'm looking at it right now, and I did not remember it.
Her name was Danny, spelled the same way as mine.
Wow.
And y'all, girl characters with my name just does not happen much. I mean, I never saw my name anywhere, like especially back then. I see it more now. And I don't know, there's something about that that's just validating when you see your name somewhere.
Absolutely.
I don't know. So fun fact too, listeners, my full name truly is Dani, D-A-N-I. It is not Danielle.
Yeah. So that's a big one.
Yeah. Seeing people or hearing people called Dani when their name is not truly Dani, it's just a nickname for Danielle. That doesn't count. Okay.
Sorry, Danielle's.
I mean, it counts for you, but I mean, it didn't count for me to have my name representation.
Yeah. Because you're like, well, that's not actually my name. Right. I mean, my name is Katie. It's also not Catherine or Caitlin or anything.
It is Katie.
Oh my gosh. My name is everywhere then and now. And I mean, we're not Jennifer's.
Correct.
Our fans can keep that. But yeah. So I feel that finding your name, that's pretty cool.
So I loved that. That was super exciting. So as Thackeray Binks explains in Hocus Pocus, he was turned into an immortal black cat by the Sanderson sisters when he tried to save his little sister Emily from their magic. And he failed to stop them. And they stole her life force. And then, this is terrible, he was cursed to live with his guilt forever as a cat.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was the curse they gave him, which sounds absolutely horrible. So the witches were hung in the movie, and then, but as we know, they come back. So he guards the house where he was cursed every Halloween night to prevent them from returning. Okay. There's like this magic book, if you've never seen the movie, which most of you probably have. But alas, one night in 1993, a teenager named Max, along with his little crush, Allison, and his little sister, Danny. Aww. So they show up to the house, or like in the woods, whatever. And they accidentally bring the Sanderson sisters back, and the cat's there. So antics ensue, blah, blah, blah. They try to send them back. And Binks was kind of like their talking cat guide, right? He was kind of with them. And he kind of got attached to the little girl because she reminded him of his sister.
Aww,
so they like bonded. Yeah. And it was so sad at the end when it like everything's figured out, the witches go back, and Binks transforms back into his human spirit self, and then he's like reunited with his little sister's spirit, and they go, but he had to like say goodbye to Danny, and she's crying, and he's like, I'll always be with you. And it was like,
I remember that.
Yes.
I mean, I love this movie. I saw it recently. Like I probably saw it 2 years ago with my kids.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fresh.
Still kind of
in
fresh.
my mind. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the interesting thing about Binks. Because I remember watching it thinking like, okay, well, that's a real cat, but then that's definitely an animatronic because he does talk, like his mouth moves.
Okay.
So 8 different real life cats were used when they were filming.
Wow.
Yeah. Because like I said, you can't really train cats. I mean, you can, some you can, but like, it's not like, I mean, they have show cats and stuff. But anyway, they had 8 different real life cats. But some scenes had the real life cats, and then some had animatronics. Mm-hmm. So there were 6 of them. They had 6 animatronics.
Wow.
Then some scenes had real life cat mixed in with computer animation just on his head when he was talking. So it's like real life cat body, CGI head
and mouth. Wow.
Yeah. So
14 different versions of Binks.
Yeah.
So this is the difference
I know
between cats and dogs in movies. Because wow, that's wild.
Isn't that crazy?
But also is a talking cat, so it's a little bit more complicated.
Yep. And so anyways, that was just interesting. I was like, oh, there's lots of Binkses, lots of Binks cats. But I also I think a lot of times I liked movies with cats, or even cartoons that reminded me of my real life. We had tons of cats when I was growing up. And I actually had a black, and they were all strays or shelter cats. My sister and I would find strays and then bring them home and be like, oh, Mom, look, another cat followed us home. And my mom could not, like, she had such a soft heart for cats.
Oh.
And even though we would like chase down the stray cats and be like, come to my house.
Yeah, you'd be like
it just showed up, Mom.
Needs a home. Well, so my husband is allergic to cats.
Oh.
Yeah. But he actually really likes cats.
Oh.
Which is kind of sad because, as I mentioned earlier, he's not super bonded with our dogs.
Oh.
But my son is like a cat whisperer, like loves cats. And what you were just saying about stray cats, he's almost 17, right? But since he was little, he has never met a cat he didn't like, even if it's scratched. It doesn't matter. So there is a neighborhood cat. I believe she's passed now, and she's kind of like roams in and out of her owner's garage and whatever. And she used to come over before we got our lab, and she would just sit outside and wait for my son.
That is so cute.
And we were like, Ferris, your cat's here. My son's name is Ferris, by the way. He loves it. And he would just go out there and just play with his cat. But at some point it wised up that we had a dog now. So we stopped seeing it. But I also think she's passed away.
Yeah, I loved the cat Binks because I had a black cat. Because, black cats are very mistreated because there's all these false narratives surrounding them. Sure. So, and especially during Halloween time, people do really nasty things to cats. It's actually very sad.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it kind of, I could see that.
Yeah. And so anyway, but we had a black cat who was so sweet. His name is Andy. I don't know why we named him that, but that was his name. And I think I had him right around the time of this, and he looked just like Binks.
Aww.
But I was like, that's all these cats I wrote down. Either like they reminded me of a cat most of them that I had,
like an actual. Well, it's funny what you say about black cats because there's also a lot of narrative around black dogs.
Yeah, true.
Not necessarily mistreatment, but that they're adopted out of shelters and things like that at a much lower rate.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, they're associated with, I don't know, being bad or whatever association. And like, my lab is black.
So sweet.
She's like the nicest animal on the planet. So, it really depends, right? Yeah. There's dogs that look like anything that are, but that's sad about cats. So everyone be nice to black cats.
I know.
It's not their fault. And they didn't, curse your sister to eternal whatever's going on in Hocus Pocus. Wow. Okay. Well, on that note, it's probably time to wrap up.
This was interesting.
Wow. Thanks for sticking with us, guys. And thanks for listening to Generation in Between, a Xennial podcast. We think we gotta redo the math on the years. Just kidding. But if you did like what you heard or just found us slightly amusing, share us with your friends of all generations. Leave us a review wherever you are listening right now on podcasts. If you listen 2 places, I listen on Apple Podcasts to some of mine and Spotify. I've gone and done reviews both places. So anywhere you have access to a review, leave us one there because it's free and more people find us. When you tell Apple Podcasts, I really like this show, then they're going to show it to more people. And that's just an easy way for us to get some more listeners. You can also find us on patreon.com and become a monthly supporter. I believe it's $8 a month since we were both born in the 80s, and you'll have access to some extra perks on there. And again, as Danny mentioned, that episode suggestion form is live. Yes. Fill that out. All of these things are linked in our show notes. You can also just go to Google, and if you type Buzzsprout, Generation in Between, our very basic page will come up with all the episodes and all our show notes and all our links. So for some reason, I know sometimes I have trouble finding show notes in Spotify. Yeah. It's probably a Xennial thing, but I have trouble finding them. So if you just want to go to good old Google and type that in, Buzzsprout, Generation in Between, you'll find us that way too. So until next time, be nice to your black cats. Have some lasagna. Don't watch the Ren and Stimpy reboot. No. What else did we learn this episode? Yeah. And
Oliver and Company, go watch it.
Yes, learn the song. If you're a voice student of mine, sheet music coming
Billy
soon.
Billy Joel, not Huey Lewis.
Yes, exactly. All these things. And hopefully you learned something today. I know I did. And we'll see you next time on Generation in Between. Bye, guys.
Bye.